Right, so we're here at Hampton Court, RHS Hampton Court, with designer Katerina Kantalis, and we are at this beautiful balcony garden that she's built over the last 3 weeks, is it?
So planned 3 weeks, and then we had 10 days to build.
So only 10 days to turn nothing into this?
Absolutely,
okay.
Yep, correct.
Yeah, you've done really well.
Thanks.
Really well. Yeah.
Especially with 3 weeks notice as well. So yeah, it wasn't a huge amount of time.
So is there a little story about the 3 weeks notice? Is that this is a new kind of initiative or something?
Yeah,
that
exactly.
Doing?
So some people might recognise these balconies from Chelsea. So usually they're the Chelsea balcony gardens, and they, I think, just wanted to bring something a bit different. So there's 3 of us that have been part of the journey. Yes, it has been very last minute, but actually, do you know what? It's just given us that challenge to be able to work out what we can do and show people really that, you know, you can do anything.
Well, yeah, we were discussing earlier, if you introduce some constraints, sometimes that's when the creativity starts going. Because you were saying, you know, you had to think about maybe reusing some things you already had because of the short time span. But... Exactly.
Yeah. So I kept the garden relatively straightforward, mainly because of the time constraint. But the thing is that you can still do some really interesting things. So you'll be able to see the rendered wall at the back. So the whole purpose of this garden is to make sure that it feels quite natural. So there's a lot of natural materials, there's a lot of natural textures, so your clays, your terracottas, your limestone paving. And so what was really important was, even though we were having a rendered wall, that's still a lime-based render. So we basically did a mix of your lime clay basically, and then it's a powdered form that then gets all mixed up into the color that we wanted. So it's a sort of a pre-bought color, and what we've done on this occasion is a bit of an ombre effect. So we've done the darker color at the top and then the lighter color at the bottom.
Yeah, I noticed that. It does like sweeps. It looks really effective. I love it.
Yeah, and it's basically taking the line of the railings, so it's sort of distinguishing the space, because otherwise if we had just done one color, it's quite flat. So like my big mission is around color and just the way that we use it in an outdoor space. I think we sometimes are afraid to use it, and so this is trying to show people that, you know, you can still use strong colors, but actually what's interesting about this one is it's exactly the same color. All we've done is used 100 grams on the lighter version and 500 grams on the darker version. So it just means that you can play around
and that
with
weight,
the mixing.
Is that like the amount of
powdered, the coloured clay that we've put in?
Coloured clay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
And that, the way you get, I love the texture of it. So is there like a technique to that, or is that just
so it's just a
the...
rough? Yeah. So yes, there is
beautiful.
some texture in the actual clay itself, but we did it purposely a rough render. So if we wanted to, we could have done it smoother, sanded it all back, but this is not the purpose of this garden. This is about texture. It's about
that natural feel. And I'm glad we got a chance to send our Lymington Dusk into this, because when you said you were going to do this colour, I was like, yes, we've got paving that can work well here.
Exactly.
And, I mean, I said to you, like, we've been doing that at stone for maybe a couple of years now, and it's sort of a niche product that not many people go for, and I feel like we should sell more of it, because I love this stuff.
I agree, because I think the thing is as well, I think there's an element of sometimes we all play it safe. So, you know, within the market, there's of course the limestone, the beige coloured limestone or the grey coloured limestone, absolutely lovely. But what I find with especially the outdoors, we seem to have 2 colourways, cream, beige or grey.
Yeah, totally.
And that's it, but nothing else. Whereas you look at an internal space, and we go absolutely crazy for colour.
Such a good point.
Crazy. Like our flooring is really interesting, our walls are interesting,
people have like
our
green,
furniture.
blue kitchens and stuff like this.
Totally,
yeah.
exactly. But then the minute that we step outside into the outdoor space, it's like, oh,
people get a bit shy, don't they? Almost?
Yeah, exactly. So when I saw Lymington Dusk, I think what really attracted me was the fact that there were the sort of pinkish reddish tinges to it, still the beauty of your limestone, so it's still got the interesting facets to it with the fossils and the veins that are flowing through it, but there's just a little tinge, and it's nothing too dramatic or in your face, but actually what it does, and you can see it, like it's not that controversial, but actually it really flows quite nicely because it's sort of mimicking what's going up there, and through the day as well it changes with the light, it changes the way it looks. And look, if I can be a advocate for Lymington Dusk, let's go for it.
Yes, you are an advocate, and I'll be forcing Lymington Dusk on more people, trying to encourage them to take a bit more risk with the paving choices.
If we had another chance of another life.
But so you've got a bit of a concept with this garden, which I think would help people incorporate more plants in a similar garden, because you're saying that you don't need a lot of water to look after a garden like this.
No, so a lot of the plants here are Mediterranean, so they're drought tolerant. There's also some Australian plants in here as well, like your grevillea. So this is a grevillea, as is that one over there. This is a helianthemum, which is from the cistus family, which are drought tolerant plants. Geraniums are the easiest plants you could ever have. You could literally starve them with water and they will still do their thing.
Do that.
These are geraniums that have been sitting in my garden, and there are times when I don't get a chance to water them. Achilles, this is Dodonia, which is also an Australian plant, evergreen. So again, it's great for these hot conditions. Look, the only things potentially that might need some watering is of course your basils, the edibles that we've got in here, but a lot of the garden here is about not having to water all the time. So, it's sort of being very mindful of the fact that, we're not always going to have a lot of rainfall, but it's little things as well, like using saucers to be able to capture the water.
Yeah, I heard you talking to somebody earlier about that. It's a nice little trick, if it rains, harvest some of the water.
Yeah, and we've used hessian as well. So the hessian top, for example, acts like a mulch. So if you keep that cool and wet, then that will help retain more moisture underneath, and then it's just using things like shelves. So of course through the different times of the day, that shadow is going to change, and so there'll be times when the plants are going to be in full sun and other times when they're going to be in shade.
Yeah, that's a clever idea.
Yeah, and look, I think to be fair as well, this was done over a period of 3 weeks. If I had the chance, I would definitely try to bring in, sort of a shade structure if we're going for a Mediterranean theme. But for the concept of time, we didn't have that.
Yeah.
But you could absolutely bring in some, very simple steel structures in, and again, just use hessian to basically give yourself a bit of cover, and then that way, you've got the shade that you need, and then you take it down during the winter period, and off we go.
Well, you've done an absolutely fantastic job.
Thank you, and thanks for being a part of this as well.
Well, thanks for asking us, and I've had great fun working with you over the last few weeks on this. So, and you've been a pleasure to work for, even down to helping me get into Hampton Court today. My first time here today.
There you go.
And gave me perfect instructions.
There you go.
Perfect.
So. It's not easy to
You made it easy for me. Yeah, this place is big, and I was like, right,
where am I going?
Listen to what Katerina says. I'll try and work this out. But yeah, thanks again. That's a pleasure.
All good. Thanks, Ray.
Nice one.